All right, welcome to Yin Yoga, and I'm going to turn this light on up here to get a little more light so you can see me clearly. And in today's class, we're going to work from the bottoms of the feet right up to the eyebrows, which kind of takes us a little bit out of the jurisdiction of Yin Yoga, but Yin Yoga traditionally is between knees and navel. So we'll be hitting that area as well. I'm going to recommend you have a strap handy if you do, blocks, maybe a little ball that has a little bit of give. You could use something as tough as a golf ball as well, but a tennis ball would be ideal, or a yoga tune-up ball would be perfect. This is just a little kid's toy here to have your blanket and your strap. So we're going to start with a little bit of movement to get blood flow into the body. So start with hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We'll do a little cat and cow and feel out the back and the neck and the shoulders. Try 5 or 6 cat and cows here. And as you tuck the tailbone, really draw the navel in, brace the belly, engage the abdominals so you feel the stretch in the low back. Drop the chin, release the neck. And then as you come up, lift the chin a little bit, feel that low back. And then widen the knees, bring the big toes together, and come back into child pose. Try to have the tops of the feet on the mat so you feel that plantar flexion of the foot. Inhale, come back up. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And start a little circular motion with the hips. Almost like your navel is drawing a circle on your mat. Let the circle start to get bigger. And create another circle with the tip of your nose, as if your tip of your nose is drawing a circle on the mat as well. So you're starting to feel the hips and the head rotate. Just getting a little blood flow into the joints, into the muscles. Slow it down. Make the circles smaller until they stop. And then start the belly button drawing a circle in the opposite direction. Grow the circle outwards. And then add the nose. That's good. Pause, slowing the circles down until you come to stillness. And then lift the right arm up to the sky, look up towards the sky, and drop it down to the ground. Try to bring the shoulder and your left elbow and even the head to the ground. If the head doesn't reach the ground, put a blanket under the head space. We're going to do 3 of these. Inhale, lift up again. Exhale, thread the needle. See if you can bring the head and shoulder down onto the ground. Now one more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, thread. Keep balanced here as you push the weight into the right knee and the right shoulder, so the left leg straightens out. Leaning your weight into the shoulder, into the side of the head. The left leg is getting a nice calf muscle stretch and a little dorsiflexion of the foot. Slow your breathing down. If any of you want to play with balance, it's not really a yin thing. You could lift that left foot up into the air and rotate the ankle joint. You might tip over backwards. Some people like tipping over. Otherwise, you can keep it on the ground and just continuing pushing out through the heel bone, getting a nice stretch in the calf muscle. 3 more breaths here if you can. Take the weight back into that left hand, drop the left knee, and slowly come back to child pose. When you come back to child pose this time, bring both hands onto your heel bones, resting your head on the mat or a block, and just hold the heel bones for a moment. While you hold the heel bones, see if you can massage the bottoms of the feet with the fingertips. Just stimulate the bottom of the feet. And then slowly come back up, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Once again, finding your tabletop. This time lifting the left hand to the sky and thread the needle. Just feeling what threaded needle feels like on this side. Feeling the left shoulder, left neck. We're going to do 2 more of those. Inhale, lift. Exhale, thread. Inhale, lift. Exhale, thread and pause. Transfer your weight onto the left knee and the left shoulder so the right leg can straighten out behind you. Now you might even find you roll a little bit onto the back of your head here. It's very easy to tip over backwards. It's even easier to tip over backwards if you lift that right leg into the air. But really, a more yin version is to keep the foot on the ground and drive out through the heel, so you're getting the stretch through the back of that right leg. Three more breaths here if you can. And then exhale, gently come down, take your weight into both knees. Come into child pose, holding the heel bones, massaging the bottom of the foot. And slowly press up, grab a blanket, and make your famous burrito fold with your blanket. So you've got a little purchase for your sit bones. Grab a strap. Sitting on the edge of your blanket so the pelvis is tilted forward. And let's have your ball handy as well. If you don't have a ball, have a block handy. bending the right knee, extend the left leg out at an angle. And bring your hand underneath that left knee and open it a little bit more. Ooh, so you've got actually quite an adductor stretch here already. So my right foot's almost not even able to touch the inner thigh because of that angle. So it's a wide split here on that left side. If you're already feeling tension in the hamstring and the back of the knee joint, why don't you prop that left knee up with something? Could be a block, it could be a blanket. And we'll practice a little rotation here. Bring the left hand behind the back, right hand in front of you. So you feel a little rotation of the torso towards the extended leg. Let's counter twist. Come to the other direction. Notice how that feels in the groin and the hip area. And then take your strap over that left foot. Grab it strongly between two hands. Curl the toes back and start to floss the bottom of your foot. You can apply quite a bit of pressure to stimulate the bottom of the foot here. Starting to add some stimulation to the fascia and the tight plantar fascia of the foot. So at my recent training here in Australia, I was given a lot of compliments about the flexibility of my foot, which surprised me. You're supposed to get something like 30 degrees of flexion and extension there. So look at that angle you can create pulling the foot back. If you wear shoes a lot and boots, sometimes it can get very rigid in the ankle joint. So really working on the feet is a very important part of your yin. All right, let's use the foot as an anchor point here. Rotate the torso towards that extended leg and start to hinge forward with the chin away from the chest. So it's more of a hinging rather than a rounding. Now most of my students know that the goal is not to go as far as you can. The goal is to find delicious discomfort and hang out, to give the body time to release the tension. So when we take the competitive nature out of a stretch until it becomes delicious discomfort, some true changes can start to take place in the body. It's such a relief not to have to be the most flexible. And if you are really flexible, you might find something like this. You could be creative to go deeper. You could even bring the block on the other side of the foot and wrap your hands around the block to get a little deeper forward fold. So some people have a lot of flexibility here, so they don't really need this stretch. Let's try some head nods here as you drop the chin towards the chest and come a little closer to the knee. You might find your hands move down the strap a little bit more. This creates a little rounding in the back. And see if you can bring particularly the right hand a little further forward so you start to feel a little more twisting motion in the right side of the hip and the low back. Keep releasing tension in the shoulders and the neck, and increasing tension through the back of that left leg. Drive the heel bone back, toes curled back. Five more breaths here if you can. Very important you come out gently and slowly, letting the hands walk back. Don't use the back to lift you up. Come out very gracefully, very slowly. Ha. Just notice the impact on the hips and the low back here. Extend, turn the head to the right, and then the left. Free up the neck once again. Change sides. Take the right hand under that extended left leg and right leg, and then bring it out wider. Whoa, all right. You can bring it out just that little extra with a little hand support. Twist towards that right side. Support the back of the knee if you wish, and then rotate opposite side, just counter twist. Feel that in that right groin. For those who need a strap like myself, well, we need the strap actually to stimulate the bottom of the foot. We want to really, if you don't have a strap, use a towel or a piece of rope. Rope might be a little tough for the foot. Floss that foot, stimulate the bottom of the foot. The foot's going to love you. And then just while you hold the strap there, point and flex the foot. Just feel that ankle mobility. You can see how strong those muscles are. They pull the whole torso forward as you point. Amazing. And then preparing for that head to knee slowly, using the left hand to give you the most twist here. So the left hand, the further the left hand goes towards the foot, the more you feel the twist. Chin away from the chest to start with. Nice relaxed upper body. You might even smile. And then lower body, so you're going to start to feel the twist in the hips. And the tension in the back of the leg as it stretches out. Keep driving out through the heel bone. Maybe a couple of head nods here just to feel, whoa, yeah, head nods change sensations. And then dropping the head towards the knee, rounding the back slightly if that's appropriate for you. So if you had osteoporosis, you wouldn't drop the chin. You want to keep the chin up. And we'll find a different degree of flexibility on this side. Five more breaths here if you can. And then slowly come up. Ooh. Gently release. Turn the head to the left and the right. And then we're going to dig into the fascia of the foot a little bit more, including some toe flexibility here as well. If you need to sit on a chair to do this, you can. I'm going to start by taking the left ankle over the right knee and grabbing hold of the shin or the ankle with that left hand. Right hand's going to squeeze the tips of the toes. Squeeze the tips of the toes. So these are your anchor points. The right hand is going to start to turn the foot in a circle. Now the secret to turning the foot is the foot's not working. The foot is being worked on by the strength of your right arm. It's like your right arm is turning a wheatgrass juicer, a coffee grinder. And for those who remember the old-fashioned cars that started with the crank, those old-fashioned cars, and then rotate the other direction. It should be, as far as possible, a pleasant experience. It might be a little intense on the back of that right knee. If it is, you can always pad it with something like a blanket or a block. You can even bend it like I just did. Now we're going to do some toe wiggling. Get into the toes with your pincher fingers. Grab the pinky toe and the fourth toe. Pinch them, squeeze them nice and hard. Stimulate. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle those toes forwards and backwards. Keep squeezing them and change that wiggling to a sideways stretching, stretching the webbing between the toes. Move on to toe 4 and 3. 4 and 3. Same procedure, wiggles and stretch with lots of squeezing. Move on to toes 2 and 3 when you're ready. And then the big toe and toe number 2. So the big toe, let's spend a bit of time on the big toe here. You might even turn it in a circular motion. And really work on spreading it away safely from the second toe without hurting the big toe knuckle. And before we leave the left foot, grab your ball or your block. I'll show you how to use the ball. And bring the bottom of the foot onto that ball and really press down into the bottom of the foot onto the ball. Now, if you want more weight, you can do this in a standing position as well. And if you're using the block, I'm going to say dig the corner of the block into the bottom of your foot, just pressing away there. Really get into that tough fashion. Really feel it in the arch sling here. Now, for those who are still working with the ball, bring the toes and wrap your toes and spread your toes around the ball. I'll bring it in a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just spreading the toes right around that ball. You could do that on the corner of your block as well. You can see I've lifted my hips off the floor to really spread the toes. If I'm standing, of course, I can do that standing. And then release. And extend both legs out. Toes curled back, hands beside you into staff position. Roll the shoulders back and down. Close your eyes for a moment. It's not so easy when we add tension through staff pose to feel the contrast between two sides. So lean back for a moment and just relax the feet. Now you might feel the contrast you've created between your two sides there. If you come into a forward leaning position and grab towards your toes, you might also feel a lot more flexibility on that left side. Less intensity in the back of the leg. Do you feel that? All right, let's try the other foot. Anchor, ankle and big toes. Squeeze the big toes. Lots of pressure here. Nice warm hand over the toes. And start your rotation. First in one direction and then the other. Make sure the ankle is nice and relaxed. This is a good opportunity also to be conscious of your breathing. Bring your attention to your breath, breathing in and out of the nose. Change direction if you haven't already. So feet are one of the most neglected part of our attention and workouts. And yet one of the most significant parts to our overall flexibility and stability and balance. It's interesting how we often leave out the most important part. All right, let's do our toe squeezes and wiggles and stretches. Away you go. Working from pinky toe to big toe. Remember, when you hit the big toe, give it a little extra time. And then when you're ready, you can start to come into either massaging the bottom of the foot with your thumb tips or your ball or your block. So at the Canyon Ranch where I used to work, we would have a whole 45-minute class just on the foot, just on the feet, stimulating the bottom of the feet. So foot health is definitely worth spending time on. Once again, you could stand if you like. Make sure you get the toes worked out here as well, wrapping around the corner of the block or the ball. And then once again, you might want to feel the contrast between how the legs once were and how they are now. First in the relaxed position. And then coming into snail pose, you might extend both legs out, toes curled back, working your hands down towards the shins or the toes, with or without a strap. And once again, noticing, was there any change in the range of motion of this forward flexion? In other words, did the back of the legs seem to be less impacted as you stretch forward? So you can come a little further. Five more breaths here if you can. And then slowly come up, keeping the legs extended and taking your fingertips. Now, if your fingertips aren't strong enough, you can use the corners of your blocks and you're simply going to massage the outer thighs from the hips all the way down to the knees. And when you come across a sensitive spot, I want you to hold the pressure there. Push in against the pressure of the sensitivity spot for at least 30 seconds. I want you to notice what happens to your kneecaps as you do that. Sometimes one kneecap is rotated outwards. When we do this, it helps that kneecap release and recenter itself. So this IT band area, this tensor fascia latae area gets very, very tight. Once again, if it gets too much for the fingertips, take the corners of your blocks and you should be able to find plenty of stimulation with those. Ooh! Anybody find some ouchy spots? Yeah, good. The corners of the blocks will definitely help. When you're ready, come onto your back. Have a strap handy. Maybe have your block handy. Start with TP pose, feet outwards, slightly pigeon-toed, knees together. Give the low back time to release. Palms face up 45 degrees beside the hips. Relax shoulders, shoulders away from the ears. Feel your low back. If you've been doing any intense work with the low back, this could be a great pose to come into. If you have a bolster handy, find your bolster. Let's do 5 more breaths in this pose first. On the next inhale, open the knees, bring the feet a little closer together and lift the hips up into bridge pose and slide your bolster underneath the hips so the hips are elevated. Just check in with the neck that it's not compromised here. Sometimes if there's too much padding under the back of the head, when you elevate the hips, it creates undue duress on the throat, too much crunching in the throat. Keep the back of the neck long without crunching the throat too much. Pick up the left knee and hug the left knee in towards your ribs. Extend the right leg out so the right foot might dangle onto the floor, or it might be hovering in the air. Depending on how high your bolster is, how open that right hip flexor is. Keep the squeeze strong without tensing the elbows or neck. On the next exhale, pick the head up and reach down with the right foot. Grab the left foot and squeeze the left lower leg in towards your ribs, across the body, as if you were in pigeon pose. So right hand is pulling the left foot, left hand is squeezing the left knee. In these moments of quietness, when I'm not speaking, focus on your breath. Release the left leg and relax. Notice the contrast between the two legs. Change sides. Pick up the right knee and squeeze the right knee in towards the ribs. Keep the upper body relaxed, but the squeeze strong. Drive out through the left heel. Exhale, lift the head, and left hand pulls the foot now as you hug the right leg in like it's a little bambino into your ribs, into your chest. Right hand or right arm squeezing the knee. Left hand bringing the ankle in towards the left hip. Make sure you have a strap nearby. And then release. Feel both of those legs extended out, floppy hands. Hips are still elevated if that's okay for your back. If it's not, you can come off your bolster. Have a strap handy in case you need it. Bring both knees back this time. And cross the left knee over the right knee. And pull your knees in towards your ribs. If your belly is sensitive, see if you can push the belly in with your hands and lift it away so you can bring the knees back without the thighs pushing as much into the belly. So the belly might be a constraint here. If it is, if it's too uncomfortable, you can stop. Slide your hands down to the opposite ankles so your knees are still crossed, but instead of pulling the knees back, you're pulling the ankles in. And if you cannot reach one ankle, use a strap around the ankle. Keep the upper body relaxed as you keep the squeeze growing. So you'll feel this in the left glute particularly. Some of you might even be holding more towards the toes. That might be something you enjoy, it might not. Grow the squeeze. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, turn the head to the left and squeeze with a little more vigor. Bring the head to neutral. Exhale the head to the right and squeeze. Inhale the head to neutral, release the feet. Uncross the knees and relax the legs. Feel the calm after the storm. We're going to do the other side. So bending the knees, pick the knees up. And this time crossing the right knee over the left. And start by holding the knees. Holding the knees. Feel how the other glute on the right side becomes more sensitive here. Now you know the sequence here will eventually slide the hands down towards the ankles or the feet using a strap or hands. You can wait for my cueing or you can move ahead of me. Keeping the knees crossed, slide the hands down towards the ankles if you haven't already. It's going to change the degree of sensation in that right glute. Keep the squeeze strong, shoulders relaxed. Turn the head to the left. Inhale the head to neutral. Keep the squeeze strong. Exhale the head to the right. Shoulders relaxed. Squeeze strong. Inhale the head to neutral. Release the ankles. Uncross the knees and lift the pelvis. Slide the bolster under the thighs and come into Shavasana. Support the hamstrings with the bolster. Let go. Into your support. The earth under your back. Bolster under your thighs. Let yourself be held. And when you're ready, let the feet come up and rotate the ankles. Reach the arms over the head, big stretch. And standing with your feet on the bolster, roll to one side into a little ball. And slowly come up to a seated position. Comfortable. Notice how you feel. From the bottoms of the feet all the way up to your eyebrows. Just bring your hands together in gratitude for our practice. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.